Boom. 8 people in the house. 4 thumbs up. Diamond has sat down. I got my coffee, got my blunt, my blunts, and my blankie. And Maya from Switzerland in the house. Craig, make a sandwich. Make a sandwich. How's everybody doing? Kristen Adams, Joe Marcato. Tell me how the audio is. We were having issues last time. I want to avoid those issues. Okay, beautiful day out here. Just got the watering turned off. That's where I was out there. Thank you, Kristen. Fred Deo in the house. Bit crazy also just popped in the spot. Jennifer and Bucks. Remember the Bucks County Mall? Oh, what a failure. I used to go to the Orange Julius stand there. It was banging. Ding danging. Colleen Avery. Mark the Vicar. All right, we got 27 in the house. I'm not going to wait much longer. If you guys have any questions you want to get off your chest, just put them over there in the chat. Hopefully I'll get to them. I want to know when I can start putting out flyers. Flyers about what? Kristen. Hi, Virginia. That's Susan Davidson from Virginia checking in. Iowa, Jim Gerard from Iowa is here. "27 people in the house, 20 thumbs up. So I don't know how accurate that is. We are on satellite after all. Sometimes if I refresh, it'll give me a whole different number. Oh, I saw it. Paul Cottrell and Diamond for president. Probably not. Top Knot in the house with the $3 super chat boom, telling everyone to do the obvious. Thumb it up. Thumb it up now. I hope everyone had their CBD today. I have a nice little hemp lucid gummy, which I can pop early in the morning there. Hi, Tennessee. That's Baron. Google search. That's funny. Baron von Google search is in the house. I don't see Al. Al's a late sleeper. He's probably still in his hole. So, Sail Away is here. Mark the Vicar. I don't have questions. I just need answers. Okay, folks, 50 people in the house. Please put your questions over to the right and let's get the ball rolling, shall we? It's looking like 3 tropical systems are currently in the Atlantic. And the one we spoke of last night that may saturate Texas, the nexus of the Schmexus, is now tracking further east, and that's looking like New Orleans. So heads up, September 1st timeframe for a tropical storm hitting New Orleans, potentially. That's the current track. Cindy Cindy Wesh. Do you have any opinions on using PEC line instead of PVC on water catchment systems, which will be attached to the greenhouse? Yeah, use PECs. And it's with an X, PEX, I think. But use the PECs. PECs can swell and it won't crack like PVC if it freezes. PECs last longer. And I think PECs has less chemical reactivity with water. So it's also easier to reattach, easier to fix with shark bites that you can keep on hand. It's more money, but because of that expansion factor and the fact that you could actually freeze water in a PEX line and it may or may not break. Whereas if you freeze in PVC, it's done. So that's all I got to say about PEX. Jeff Prya, Stupa, and April are here. Yes, second opinion in the house. B Electric, Mike Decker, Dominator Buds. Cheers, everyone. We've got Switzerland, Canada, Tucson. Everybody's here. That's basically the whole world. Right around there. Sue and Sam. And yeah, second opinion's up in Meeker, Colorado. Meeker for the tweakers. Raymond, Scott in the house. All right, no questions. Diamond, caught you live. No, nothing. Read a lot. Block on the rock. Glad to be here. Greeting from Gibraltar, Europe. Paul Hallman. Ancient text or tablets say that Jupiter was Nibiru. Yes, it does. And Nibiru is also just a general term for a passing of a planet. And so I'm with you there. Alti Ray, good morning, everyone. Diamond, do you have any good meter for UVA, UVB, and UVC? I suggest you just go on your Amazoner and put in UVA, B, or C meter that you, whatever you want. And if you want to go all the way up to the UVC, I think you're going to be paying $500-$600 for something. We do have them in the store. I haven't checked their availability in years. I put them in there 3 or 4 years ago. So if you check our Amazon store, there's a whole section on UVA, UVB meters. And because you asked that question, I'll go back in there and update the store with some top of the line stuff. So there you go. Looking for questions. Good morning, everyone. Okay, that was Alti Ray's question. Fred Deo, talk a bit about NASA predicting the strongest sun cycle on record. Well, there's conflicting reports, and there's always conflicting reports every solar cycle. I think the consensus amongst many is that the predictions they had and the amplitude, meaning the length of time of the entire cycle, was off a bit, and they've now shifted that a little shorter in the periodicity of solar cycle 25, which could explain for the early ramping up. So it's still too early to tell if it's going to be strong or weak. The sun is still pretty inactive with very few sunspots. It's still in minimum mode, even though it is ramping up. So nothing is extremely spectacular happening on the sun, except off the back side currently. And Fred, we're just waiting. So everyone has an opinion. Every solar cycle, you're going to get extremely low to extremely high and in between. So NASA falls on the super high. Now, if you talk to Doug Vogt, he doesn't think the super high one will be until the next cycle when the super flare happens. So how many earthquakes happened yesterday? A lot. Shit ton. We passed the 5-minute mark. Can I say that? Yes. Excellent. Good morning. Okay. When will we start losing our spring and summers due to the incoming ice age? That never happens. There's always seasons. And the magnetosphere waning and the magnetic excursion and the ongoing grand solar minimum as it deepens is what we have to worry about. Ice ages take longer scale. So in your lifetime, what we're going to see is more extremes in the spring, summer, and winter, and fall. Earlier snows, wacky hot days in July and January. Wait for it. It's the breakdown of the systems that we were used to during Solar Max that brought us all of that constant, predictable weather, Alberta Clippers, and all that, all the nor'easters lining up perfectly. That happens when you have a strong jet stream. When the systems break down like they are now during a magnetic excursion, and as the sun is weakening in the last 4 cycles, what you get is meridional flow, and you get record high temperatures up in the Arctic. The same time you get record cold temperatures in Texas. Same day. So that's what we have to look forward to in a larger and more amplified way moving forward. Hello, Robert and Desi. Man, where were we? I'm trying to get to questions and you people keep chatting. Stop it. Okay. What do I think of Ben versus NASA? Well, it's his show. Good on him. That's what he does. So, and it's important to point out to scientists when they're potentially incorrect or they're working with an incomplete data set on purpose, potentially, and they know it. So the bottom line is for the last 40 years, the entire realm of academia is controlled by funding, and funding is controlled by the government. The government took over the National Science Foundation. So the money being doled out is for agendas, not for science. So whatever politics and agenda is being pushed by the National Science Foundation, that is the type of science you're going to get. And so it's a sad day for science. But many people are still doing good science, like Willie Soon and many others. Okay, JC Warlock in the house. Rasputin's ghost. Vermiculture, let's talk. Yeah, worms are great. Greg Allison is the king. Green's Greg on YouTube. Is the unbalanced UV burning our crops? Unbalanced UV might be burning the crops. It's you just made up of something like specific. It's a whole group of things. The atmosphere is thinner as the magnetosphere wanes, so you're going to get a whole broad spectrum of increased radiation, not just UVA, B, and C, or whatever you're looking for there. It's a whole broad range, including the sun being adding different wavelengths that make it harsher. So if you're in a drought area and the sun is harsher, you're going to get some burning. And that's not a new thing. Burning of crops has been going on time immemorial. So it's not new, maybe just in your area. A petroglyph of a mammoth probably would be 10, 12, 13,000 years old. Mammoths existed as recently as 5,000 to 7,000 years ago on an isolated island up in Siberia. So, based on that, it has to be earlier than 5,000 to 7,000 years for the glyph, and probably prior to the Younger Dryas event when the majority of megafauna were eliminated. And that would put it pre-12,900 years. A long time ago. Can't you see we're busy? We're doing a show. Okay, that was my neighbor. All right, let's get a few more questions here. We're 13 minutes in. We have 160 in the house, 86 thumbs up. We appreciate each and every one of you for being here this morning, taking time out of your schedule so we can answer a few of your questions here. Crazy Curly's question about the mammoth was just answered. Top Knot 25. What will you feed your chickens through the winter months without a feed store? Well, you certainly need to think ahead there, Top Knot, don't you? And so what you would need to do is to be stockpiling enough grain and fodder that you could make it through the winter. Now, the easiest way to do that is to use wheat or barley and grow an acre or 2 or 3, and then sprout it. So just like we're feeding the pig the sprouted grain, a 50-pound sack of grain, when you sprout it or soak it in water, becomes 200 pounds. And that is one thing you can be doing. You can also be wild harvesting other seeds and grain heads. So in that situation, you have to think about that. Additionally, with enough greenhouses, rigid greenhouses, you could be basically be growing wheatgrass in huge fodder systems. So you set out, 5 racks, you just put a little bit of wheat on top of it, you sprout that, and then each day the chicken gets one flat of your sprouts. Or you could combine it all, the sprouted grain with the live wheatgrass and barley grass or whatever you're growing, and that would probably be the healthiest chickens. So that's what I would do, Top Knot. Where did that go? Okay, where are we at? See, this always happens 20 minutes in. There's so much chat, I don't know where we're at. All the sun. Sunshine Thomas, morning, y'all. Hit the like button. Anyone heard of a dude called James Kaufman? Diamond, why are you doing the Q&A here instead of at Oppenheimer Ranch Project? Well, we have too many strikes over there. And the last, come on, you idiot. This guy does not understand. Jen Harper, why are these people calling? Okay, we are in the middle of a show. So we just left it off the hook there. It's probably going to make some noise. And I'm going to sit on it. How about that? Okay, what was the question? I'm doing Q&A over here, Kristen, because we have too many strikes. The last Q&A session we had here was demonetized. So, and we have more leeway over here. So that's why we're doing it over here. Because if we were to get another strike over at Oppenheimer Ranch Project, we would be off for 2 months. And we don't want that to happen. Muggy on Rim, Shroom Boom is popping. Get out there, folks. Yeah, I've seen some of the mushrooms coming out of, well, New Mexico. And I bet you in Arizona, it's just as insane. Second opinion, no. There's not too much UVC coming in. And our crops are being ruined because of extreme drought, especially in North and South Dakota. And then you couple that with a few days of extreme heat well into the drought, and crops are completely fried. It happens all the time here. If I plant in the wrong week and it's super hot, everything is stunted and it never recovers. So that's just what's going on. And this was predicted years ago. The extreme swings in temperature from cold, drought, extreme heat, that's what fries the crops, not cosmic radiation. That happens later on as the magnetic fields are much weaker, or when the sun shoots out an X45 at us. How big of a solar generator would I need to run under my house to keep 2 heat lamps running when electricity goes out until I can get PEX line installed? 2 heat lamps, 500 watts. That's a lot of juice, lady. So you'd need a huge one, like the new 2000 watt Bluetti might do it. But you don't need that much heat to keep things unfrozen. So stop thinking about that. We use a 12 watt incandescent light bulb in our chicken coops to heat the entire coop and to keep the drinker unfrozen at temperatures as low as minus 10 degrees. So a few lower wattage bulbs nearby and underneath would be just fine to prevent freezing from happening. But you need to test it and find out exactly what you need. Tons of people are wasting so much energy putting too much heat in their chicken coops and other places that's just not necessary. So there you go. People should be scrambling to come together in communities. Well, the scrambling cowboy church or cowboy killer doesn't happen until after the event, unfortunately. That's when the scrambling will be happening. Do you think, Jennifer Miller says, do you think the stone megalithic monuments around the world are for astronomical viewing of Nibiru when it appears? Absolutely not, Jennifer. That's all I'll say there. Robert V. I have a great question. I live in the Badlands of North Dakota and find petrified wood everywhere. Yeah, and if you go in the right gullies, jawbones of all kind of mammals and teeth. It's always on the upper layers. Upper layers of what? You're finding it on the surface because it doesn't weather. It's silicified. The wood is silicified. The rest of the rock is weathering away, and the petrified wood just sits there as the rock is weathering down. It's all you have a lack of understanding of geologic processes, especially weathering processes, and what's actually going on there. So there's tons of petrified wood in situ, which means in place, where if you look at a road cut or a cut in a quarry, you can see logs sticking straight out of the side of the quarry. And that's where it's in place. But as the rest of the ground lowers through erosion and rain, any petrified wood that's in there will just be sitting on top as the rest is weathering, because the petrified wood is silicified, made of quartz, and doesn't weather. It's very strong and resistant, which is why all the beaches in all the worlds are quartz, sand. Okay. Hope that helped you, Robert. Devil Speak. Good morning, everyone. Cowboy Consciousness. There's no greater love than the one who will lay down their life for their friends. Indeed, Cowboy. Okay, where are we? Oh my God, it just shifted again. Okay, sorry about that. As an opinion, do you think we'll ever get back to pre-COVID days? No way. There is no avenue for that. Diamond, how do you keep chickens and quails warm in extreme winter temps, especially like last year's ice storm? Just add a single light bulb in a half of a cinder block and put your feeder on your drinker on top of it, and you have an ambient heater in there. Costs pennies a day to run that baby. And all you need is a single mount light bulb post, which you can get a ceramic one at any store. Just mount it to a piece of plywood or something, and you slide that half a cinder block over it, put the bulb in, and put the drinker on top. And it becomes a thermal mass heater for pennies on the dollar. Jackie Flowers says 2 years ago it was flooding out in the Midwest, flooding of farmlands and crops. Not a question. Saturn raindrops, puff, puff, pass. Greenheart. Pete 2.0. Mitch Lardot. Lots more insects to the last 3 years and pests, plants who get black spots. Mitch, powdery mildew moves around the country all the time, and it shows up in different places at different years based on precipitation patterns. In wetter or damper climates, the powdery mildew explodes in those regions sometimes, and it comes and goes and ebbs and flows. So that's half of my answer to what you wrote there. And pests also the same. Some years you'll have this, and some years you'll have that. And it's based on what you're planting and the weather and the climate and the environment where you're planting. Okay. Robert, 5, question. I find scoria on the tops of hills. This is clay that has been heated into rock hard. Would that have been from the sun or from under the earth? Scoria is from volcanoes, if you're actually looking at scoria. And that is a lava flow rock, like pumice, or like Pohoihoi lava, or like Aa lava. Scoria is part of the superficial rocks that come out of volcanoes called lava. Okay. Mark the Vicar. By the way, I self-identify as a vicar in an attempt to save tax. JC Warlock Diamond. I asked Mario this, but he suggests ancient monuments point to ancient rotation axis. Yes, he's exactly right. But he also says Earth expanded, which I also think, will Earth's expansion not change intersectional points? Well, we reached out to James Maxwell, and he is the king on the expansion theory. He just published his second edition of Plate Tectonics this month. He just published it, and I just found that the other day. So we reached out to him, tried to get him on the show. I got a fly on my head, and the Earth, based on the data, is only expanding at a rate of about 0.2 millimeters per year. So it's not particularly rapid on average, but there could be time periods like during the weakest point of the magnetic field during the excursion that accelerates the expansion. And then that's what causes all of the crustal heaving, volcanic activity, and maybe some of the waters from inside of the mantle on the crust come out and rise sea levels for a flood event, albeit brief. And then all the water is quiet. But in general, the evidence of Earth's expansion, it's quite slow. So wouldn't have much effect, but megalithic structures pointing at the rotational pole moving at regular intervals is basically what we believe happens. So during certain magnetic excursions, typically the 100,000 year event, which just happened, the rotational pole will shift due to some crustal slip about 3 or 4 degrees. And it keeps sliding in the same direction, as Mario shows on his channel, Mario Build Reps, in quite spectacular fashion with excellent observational science. Okay, Sassafras Red, beam rules. Glad you got good results. Simon Milner, sit on it, Richie. Chris Belvedere, the Tartarian Terry, I would say, is another psycho like flat earth, blah, blah. No, Tartaria is real. When I was in grade school, we learned about Tartaria in a book, a history book. It was most of greater Russian Siberia there. So Tartaria is a real place that has been erased from the books. Hello. Where was one of the best places you have been hiking, exploring? All of them. I love each and every type of place. Desert Southwest, the white coast of Spain, the Frankenjuda. No, anywhere where there's giant peaks nearby usually has the most spiritual or profound effect, where you have the most vertical change in short periods of time. And I'm talking like 2 miles of topography within a mile of distance. So, and that's deep in the wilderness areas, in the high country, places like that. Liberty Caps up in Newfoundland, says Rasputin's Ghost. Jim Gerard, Buffy. Now, Jerry Armitage asks, what's more dangerous to the grid, a flare or a CME? And that just shows how little people understand about solar science. And so for Jerry's benefit and the rest listening, let's just go over it. A coronal mass ejection comes from either a solar flare or a filament detaching from the sun. Coronal mass ejection means there is some of the coronal, a mass from the corona in the form of plasma that is ejected off of the Earth. And that either comes from a flare or a filament being released. That's where the plasma comes off. The plasma in the form of the filament, or the plasma shot out of the flare. So the question, Jerry, what's more dangerous to the grid, a flare or a CME? It's a CME, because a CME is a thing coming off the sun and potentially at the Earth. Flares do not always produce CMEs. So just a flare that has no CME it's no risk to the Earth. Even a big flare, like a big X flare with no CME, might be very minor effect, because you need something coming out of there. I don't know of many X flares that don't have coronal mass ejections. So the lower flares typically have no CMEs, but any flare can have a CME. A CME can come from a plage, not even a sunspot. I mean, the sun is a very dynamic place. So coronal mass ejections headed at Earth are the danger, the only danger to the grid. The coronal mass ejection is the danger. Everyone's got that? Give me some thumbs up if you got it. All right, 250 in the house, 166 thumbs ups. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for listening. We're 30 minutes in. We're just going to answer a few more questions here. And because we've gotten lost here. Where was one of the best? All right, let's see where we are. What do you think about the Earth expansion theory? Just told you, Jen, and we're going to have James Maxwell on. Looking for questions. When did you get it that our sun is deeming? I got it from my photos. There's another source of light out there, bro. Have no idea what your question is. Yeah, there's millions, there's billions and billions of other sources of light in the form of planets and stars. So look up. Sunsetta. I just lost it. Sorry, Sunsetta. Way too many people chatting here. A couple more questions here, and then we got to go. If you want to harden your home electricity, check out Amp Doctor. Has a doctorate in electrical engineering. Test anything in his lab cheaper than those useless EMP shields. Yeah, I agree, Chris. So we pointed that out a few years ago. That guy is a good go-to, and don't buy the EMP shield because it doesn't do anything except take money out of your pocket. Okay, looking for some questions here. There's Sunsetta. We would all like the convenience of electricity after shit hits the fan. Since we are on our own, what would you recommend? Wood gasifiers, solar, hydro, all of it. Yep, every single backup redundant system you can find. That's what I recommend because we don't know what will work, when it will work, or what we will need. The more, the merrier. Wood gas fires are great. It's a great place to start. And then from there, we need to go with manual turbines. Back in the olden days, everything was just spun with a single turbine and a single windmill. You could crush grain. You could run a sawmill. You could make electricity. So it all comes from spinning a turbine. If you don't have any of that, all you need is a mule walking in a circle. So go back to the old ways. That's what we've got to do. Abel James in the house. Lots of thumbs up. Man, we are just getting calls left and right today. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Okay. Costco says, what is your idea on the probability of humanity's unconscious preparation on the coming of the galactic current sheet energetic wave by the EG rollout of the global apoptosis like VAX program? Sorry, Costco. You need to break that up into actual questions that someone can understand. Yeah, second opinion. You can always ride a bike that spins a turbine. It's very inefficient, barely gets you a couple watts, but it does stuff. B Electric says, do you think Tesla energy will change the landscape of power? Probably not. Their batteries aren't that. They're just raping the earth of lithium, rare earth elements. So no, there's a better technology and safer technology. And that is the only way we'll save the earth and save humanity, with better, safer, regenerative batteries. And the only company doing something like that is Edison Iron. So check them out. Edison Iron Batteries, where you can get custom batteries made. The price was astronomical when we got out here 5 or 6 years ago, and it has come down considerably in the time as the technology gets better developed. So check out Edison Iron Batteries for regenerative and sustainable batteries that last a lifetime. Okay. I'm sure Elon Musk and Tesla will get extremely rich on their batteries, but I don't know if it'll be a benefit to humanity. Okay, Colleen Avery says, I see in Southeast PA, the temp drops starting August 29th, as per your vid last night. Was that predicting frost in the Northeast? I was unsure what was going on. Hot, cold, one day. No, I was just showing temperature anomalies. So expect if it was blue to be 15 degrees below normal. So whatever the normal is, they're 15 degrees below it. To get the actual temperature or frost, to be accurate, we'd have to be within a 3-day window, and I was showing out weeks. So we'll keep a close eye on it for you, Southeast PA, and be watching for the first frost everywhere. And we're going to be reporting on that, obviously, because it's getting cold here. I didn't check the temperature, but I imagine it was 39 this morning. The coldest day since winter. Saturn's raindrops. I've been getting interesting sensations at night. That's for sure. Well, some people's thingies are waking up, Saturn. So maybe your thingy is going, yes, and Frog Zombie, learn to make fire or prep 5,000 pick lighters and have plenty of fire and money. You know what your pick lighter will be worth? Oh. They actually work. Oh my God. Best dollar I ever spent. Red clover is okay for chickens. Yep, absolutely. And it's also okay for humans. And the flowers are an amazing medicinal tea for people. So go get it. My well is 9.7 pH. Why is it rising? Oh dear. Well, because the water that's being fed into your well is moving through an aquifer through some area that's changing the pH. Is your water level dropping? Is it rising? Because if you're lowering your well, you could be drawing in from a further and further point than you've ever been at, and it would be changing the pH. And if the water is actually rising in your well because of extreme rain, you could be getting runoff from the surface and water that's moving through soils that never happened before. So those are the two possibilities on your pH change in your well, Jeff. Soulsies Jules at Diamond. Hey, there are two of us from Oregon in here. Oh, I feel sorry for you, especially if you're near Portland. The pH in our wells has risen. Could that be from fires? Yeah, absolutely. Could be from fires, pot ash, and other debris on the surface. And if there's lots of infiltration from rain, but it's been pretty dry out there, so it could be from fires. It could also be from magma moving into some of the volcanoes in the Cascades. If you live near there, that would change the pH because you can have gases moving in the subsurface. So either of the two, fires or volcano. Atmospheric rivers will become more frequent. Yes. They also shift based on a very long running cycle that a lot of people don't understand either, the ENSO cycle. And that's where they get El Nino and La Nina. And the ENSO cycle is constantly controlling the weather and those atmospheric rivers. So please do your homework on the ENSO cycle. All right, we are 40 minutes in. I'm going to go 5 more minutes, 266 watching, 210 thumbs up. So appreciate it. And I recycled all the Firestone from an empty lighter. Okay, looking for some questions. Yeah, the problem with our well water is it has huge amounts of total dissolved solids. And it's actually not helping the soil. So we're going to try to we are going to plumb a system all the way from the river to here so we can use the river water. But this would be based on the fact that the river water is better than our well water, which is basically the same water. And so we have to test the river water, and we haven't done that yet. So once we go out and test the river water and we know that that's better, we're going to be pumping that water directly up into the orchard. It will be a huge project, but well worth it. Okay, final question. Chris Belvedere. I would say there's going to be great money in raising food, and very soon growing vegetables would be better money than marijuana. I don't know about that, but food will certainly be worth a whole bunch in the near future. Our least qualified in history Vice President, Kamala Harris, said yesterday, and I quote, "Start buying Christmas gifts now because of supply chain issues. There might not be anything in the store." This is coming from the administration. So clearly, that is a soft warning for things to come. And I hope you all take heed to that warning, not to buy Christmas presents, but to buy practical preps that may be missing from the shelves in just a few months. These sociopath maniacs are going to make it much more difficult to live in the very near future. It's very scary. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance in the dystopian world that you live in. Well, know one thing, that we love you. Also, before we go, check out Shangri-La Stove.com and Top Now. Thank you for the super chat and everyone else that super chatted today. We really appreciate it. Please check out Shangri-La, Colorado. And if you're in the San Luis Valley or nearby, they have so much goat milk and now making goat cheese that you can get on their list as a member and get access to some of the freshest goat milk, organic permaculture goat milk and goat cheese in the entire country at Shangri-La, Colorado. Good friends of ours, friends of the channel. They have abundance. I mean, it's very rare to be able to access goat milk. Most of the shares are sold out across the country. They have 45 shares available, maybe. So go get them. Shangri-La, Colorado. If you're nearby, it's even worth it to drive 2 hours to get this stuff. 4 hours if you get it once a month. And they'll be at Crestone Energy Fair. I will be at Crestone Energy Fair. Leah will be at the Crestone Energy Fair. Alan will be at the Crestone Energy Fair. And many, many others. August 28th, 29th, this weekend, Crestone, Colorado. Check out CrestoneEnergyFair.org, the website. I hope that's what it is. Links will be below. And we will see you in the funny papers. We love you. Boom.